When you look at the dragons, what do you see? It's important. What do you see?
I suppose I see us.
Tell me.
Everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than to men. But they say that because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They're a power men should never have trifled with. One that brought Valyria its doom. If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
And welcome back to another episode of The Wrap Up, the show where we come back every Monday to dissect everything that happened the night before in House of the Dragon with my co-host, Evan Harris. Evan, how are you feeling about this week's episode?
I'm doing well. This show is 3-4-3. You know, episode 1 starts off with the whole Battle of the Gauntlet. Episode 2 was the season 2 finale. So we're actually finally diving into season 3. What is Rhaenyra's? You know, she got everything she wanted. She's on the Iron Throne. The war is over. We won the Game of Thrones, right? No. And that's what I love about this, because again, last week felt so monumental. What a crazy shift that the good guys have taken power, quote unquote good guys. You know, there's no bad or good, you know, blacks and greens, all that shit. But you know, we have power. Rhaenyra gets what she wanted, and now we get to see the effects of her rule, how people are reacting. We've been clamoring on this podcast for walk and talks, or just like people talking, more dialogue-driven drama. And this episode absolutely delivered another masterclass performance for Emma D'Arcy here. They're on fire every single season, but this episode in particular was also fan-freaking-tastic. So I'm very happy. This is I have this right next episode too. Like, this is very, very good. Very, very good.
Yeah. I think this season so far has done a really good job in kind of like maybe addressing some of the issues that a lot of people have had with the show as a whole, especially after the big time jump when we got Emma and Olivia. Of sometimes the show doesn't seem like it knows what it wants to do with Rhaenyra. There's a lot of like tiptoeing and like repetition, and like now we're finally really setting ourselves, now that we're back in King's Landing, and giving her like actual stuff to deal with. Very, I guess you could say, mundane stuff, even though like does affect her and the realm as a whole. But just seeing her deal with even just rats, like walking through the castle and she's kind of like trying to like evade the rats, like it's really fun. And yeah, I love this episode. It's just right up there with episode 2. I wasn't the biggest fan of the premiere for season 3, but so far so good. It's been really, really fantastic. I think the writing has picked up significantly.
Writing, and 2 weeks in a row with the direction from Claire Kinley. I forget her last name.
Kilmer or something like that.
Kilmer. But fantastic episodes with great direction. This episode in particular is like halfway through, like immediately something's like really unique is going on here with the direction, but like halfway through you're like, okay, wow, this is really elevating and escalating a lot of the mounting pressures, dilemmas, ghosts that Rhaenyra is dealing with here. A lot of awesome close-ups to Emma throughout this episode, her uncomfortability, her uneasiness, the weight, the bags under her eyes, like just some of the uncomfortable hand movements all throughout the episode, and even the rats, right? Like, close-ups on the rats, close-ups on the thrones, like a lot of smart choices here with the direction.
Yeah. The thing that kept like standing out to me, especially on a rewatch, are the POVs where we're like supposed to be in Rhaenyra's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that sequence where they're knighting the dragon seats, and it's just like a POV of kind of like her looking at them. There's a little like kind of like shots like that throughout the episode. But yeah, like, and I we need to applaud my boy Ramin Djawadi,
Woo!
however you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Man, I cannot wait to listen to the scores once the show once the season wraps. Really fantastic work. Maybe up there with his best work in Thrones.
I was losing it. You mentioned it, I think just earlier today about the percussions, with the drums. I was like, oh
Yeah,
shit,
it
that was
looks
so
like
cool.
stomping for like the
Yeah.
new theme. New.
It was like
Yeah.
boom, 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 leading into the thing. I was like, this goes hard. Like, I was already again like instantly for this episode. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like, they're doing something different here. They're doing something different. It's really fun and cool. But yeah, like so, this is a big Rhaenyra episode. Let's break everything down, and I guess we should start off with the things that not particularly Rhaenyra based, because this episode, the whole episode, is from
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra's perspective. But
Except
the first 5 minutes is all
Yeah.
Daemon and our new antagonist, Ormond, who tried to play us for a fool. Edgar, who do you think? Who do you think he is? This is crazy. I was losing my mind at the ending. So let's talk about the beginning and the ending, because it kind of, it's the biggest things of this episode. But of course, we're gonna spend most of the time with Rhaenyra. But the big thing coming out of this episode is Ormond has laid a trap of hijinks. Like, what does he think he's doing? So he has kidnapped, or not kidnapped. He has basically tricked Rhaenyra into thinking that she has taken Daemon. Daemon came to say bend the knee, high towers, in all his aura with his holding his hands on his swords. That's so cool. But anyways, they bend the knee, fake. It's a fake bend the knee, now that we know. And they give us who we think was Daeron. It turns out not to be Daeron. It turns out at the end of the episode that this other imposter was kind of forced to do it because Ormond said, "I will kill your mom if you don't, play your part right." So we have now kidnapped a fake Daeron. Meanwhile, the other one is still in Old Town, or still with Ormond, and not in Old Town. They have used the 2 days of Rhaenyra's, presidency to take a town called Tumbleton, which is now filled with hostages. So now it leaves Rhaenyra in a very precarious situation. Like, I want to burn this guy down, but now I can't burn out the whole town because the town has hostages. And now, like, how do I play this? But anyways, how do you like this whole, this whole trick, this whole maneuver? This is crazy.
Yeah. One of the biggest things about it's both a blessing and a curse with this show of adapting a book that doesn't really have a lot of meat. It's just a lot of information with fire and blood. But like this episode is a prime example of like the writers just being able to like cook. I really love when I can just watch and see something unfold that I have no idea where it's going. Or I might know where the end point is, but I don't know how the show is gonna get there because again, the book doesn't really tell you much. So this whole thing with Daeron, like immediately I was like, even like before the episode release, during like last week's preview for this episode, there's the shot of a fake Daeron like walking up to the meeting, and you can see in the back like the dragon Targaryen kind of looking at him like, what the fuck is this guy? But like just seeing that and how all of that plays out, which is none of it is in the books. It's really fun. It's really given me like Ormond is kind of reminding me of not necessarily Otto, but almost like Tywin, but with like the strategic planning of like Robb Stark. Like if you remember the early seasons of Game of Thrones, where they were like in season 1, where Tywin went and sent Tyrion and his people from the Vale to fight this battle where they thought they were gonna meet Robb, and it was just like a red herring. It was like he sent like a number of people to that battle, but in reality he was somewhere else taking another place. So that's what I was getting, kind of like it reminded me of. Obviously Ormond is using his tactics for like scheming and like bad reason per se, but it really reminded me of that in like early Thrones, and kind of like playing like this like game of cat and mouse type of thing.
That's a good comparison. He has like that spunky attitude, but he's also like very highborn and like I'm better than this kind of thing. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So I'm loving it. I love how I think this is our first cold opening in a while for the show. Maybe I'm rewatching season 2 right now, and so far I don't think there's been like a cold opening. So I think this might be the first one in a while, which is really cool. Like, I just love like the shot, like how we open with like the green army, and then
Huge.
we like pan to Daemon. Is just him, but like he has like 3 dragons,
Yeah,
and,
just
and, like
chilling.
it's so cool. He's always aura farming. Evan.
Always aura farming. How does he keep doing it? He gives no fucks. And, like the way he was just flippantly talking to Ormond is just hilarious. He's like, bend the knee, the war's won. Come on, hurry up, it's over. Yeah, hurry up and do this. Like, come on.
It's very cocky, and rightfully so, but also in his cockiness, he's like so overly confident that in his mind he doesn't think of saying like, hey, you have a dragon, why are we gonna let you leave with a dragon? Have the kid Daeron take it to the dragon pit and we'll lock him up. But again, like
yeah,
but again, like he's so like over his head at this point that he doesn't even think about that. Like I've seen people complain like, oh, that's kind of dumb, but like again, like it's part of this whole thing of like Daemon being on this, like drinking his own Kool-Aid, which we later see in a scene with Rhaenyra where he's talking about like, oh, we're like gods, like why are you like so hesitant still? So we'll see how that costs. They're very much setting up Tumbleton, which I still believe it's only going to be one battle. In the books it's 2.
you told me there's 2.
I believe in the first one the blacks lose pretty significantly, but I think the show is framing it in a way where losing Tumbleton is the loss for the blacks. So we'll see. We'll most likely, again, it'll most likely be a combination of both battles in later this season, which it looks like it might start next week, which is very interesting. Halfway through the season.
Yeah, possibly like either the end of next week. The episode, it looks like the way we got Rhaenyra, we could get a lot of Ormond next week to really understand his character. I hope we do. Like to flesh him out a little bit more.
It could be like a Norman theme episode next week. Yeah,
I hope so. And then
I would love it.
At the end, we see like the fires in the trailer, so it's like we see dragons overhead. So like, hopefully, it starts at the end of next week, and then the battle is 5, maybe. But as you said, like there's a lot of supposed battles that we have to get to for the remainder of this series. So it might just start as early as next week. Yeah. But I'm with you. I've heard a lot. I talked a lot of the complaint about Daemon not taking the dragon. For me, I was just like, as a non-book reader, I was like, isn't it smarter to just not take a dragon with somebody? Like, is it smart to like separate a dragon from a dragon rider? The dragon can't do anything alone, can it? Like, aren't you neutering the dragon if you take Daeron just by himself?
Yeah, well, I think both teams, especially you see them in the opening, the cold opening, the Greens have the Dragon Keepers, so that's probably how they're guiding the dragon around without Daeron. But again, like Daeron is there, like he can just take him and fly out to Tumbleton. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so it was interesting. But yeah, I'm with you. Like it just also goes in tune with Daemon's like overconfidence. And we learned later in the episode that he said like, this whole thing to have the high towers or whatever bend the knee, that was Rhaenyra's thing. He said I would have just burned them all. Like Daemon would have just like burned them all, killed Daeron, as he says repeatedly throughout this episode. It's like he would have killed Daeron, he would have killed everybody here. Rhaenyra is mainly the main one, being like, just have them bend the knee and the war is over. It doesn't really matter. So that's why he was acting so like, I don't want to do this, but like just bend the knee. Let's get this over with. Oh, and one more thing. Let me get Daeron. So it was just very funny. But yeah, the whole dragon looking like he was in the office is just peak comedy. It's just like, what's going on here?
And another thing that not either Rhaenyra or Daemon not knowing what Daeron looks like, I think people are overlooking the fact that this is a family tragedy. This is a war fought between just one singular family, essentially. But even between that family, they don't even know each other that well. There's that like big time jump between once Aemon loses his eye in Driftmark and the blacks leave King's Landing for a while after episode 6 and throughout episode 7, and then there's a time jump with the kids like growing up. So there must have been like at least like a 5-6 year time jump where like these people didn't really knew each other, and supposedly they Alicent sent Daeron to Old Town from a very young age, if not from fucking birth. So again, like these people don't know each other, and that is part of the tragedy.
Even Allison
So
hasn't seen Daeron in a minute. Like she said, like I only
yeah,
saw him like 5 years ago. So it's like she's seen him like twice or three times out his whole entire life. So it's like pretty
yeah.
tragic. And we'll get to Allison later in the episode for sure.
Yeah, and also another thing that I love about this is that Rhaenyra recently lost Jace and Luke, and Rhaenys. We forget sometimes to mention Rhaenys too, and her onboard child, well, her stillborn. And I do like the choice that I don't know if it was like a choice from Emma or from the writers' room, but I do like the choice of as soon as Daemon presents Daeron to Rhaenyra, she almost kind of like something activates in her where she like starts talking to him like a scolding mother.
Yeah,
Um,
that was hilarious. Yeah.
yeah, it's like Daeron, like almost like Daeron, what do you do? What were you? What were your orders from Aegon?
Look me in the
Kind
eye.
of like
I'm talking to you.
yeah, look me in the eye. Your queen is talking to you. So it's really sweet, but like, again, there is like that little hint of like bittersweetness of like the show reminding you that this woman, Rhaenyra, as opposed to Allison, she is genuinely a good mom.
Yeah, it looks like a stern mother kind of thing going on there. But I like what you said there in terms of like the differences between Rhaenyra and Alicent. Because again, last week we were like, I'm waiting for the switch, Ryan. I'm waiting for the switch. They're talking about Rhaenyra going crazy. I thought we'd see a little bit of that this episode, and what we got is thank God, is a much more complex thing here. I love seeing this, like, because I've been worried because the Rhaenyra they've been ended for 3 seasons now. As we've been saying, a very kind person who is burdened with a lot of bullshit. And this episode is giving us a lot of bullshit burdens and demons and pressures, but at the same time we are seeing her getting pulled in a multitude of different directions, especially Mysaria and Daemon's proclivities, but also at the end of the episode with the fire burning, it's a slow burn. There's sowing seeds of like, you guys keep testing me, like I'm trying to do things the right way, but y'all keep testing me. So I like seeing that a lot. Like it's a very nice slow burn, which is exactly what we wanted from Daenerys, right? We wanted that slow burn from Daenerys, but they decided to hit the jets and decided to burn an entire city. But I think this is so delicious to get like a nice slow burn of Rhaenyra's mindset. This episode is we're gonna be looking back at this episode, when the series ends, like, hey, this was a very smart choice to have this kind of singular episode leading into Rhaenyra's evolution, which I thought was just so important, so vital.
Yeah, I think this episode in particular has done a much better job at showing what being a ruler, especially a woman in this kind of world, does to somebody than Game of Thrones ever did with Daenerys. Even in this early season where we saw a lot of Dany's like diplomacy and trying to deal with people's petitions and in that little throne room in Marine.
Exactly. Yeah.
They very quickly became very repetitive in the show, to the point where I remember a lot of people, even people who love the character, being like, can we just move on to the next thing, type of thing. And
it was a lot of just like, hey Tyrion, what do we do? Hey Tyrion, what do we do this? And then
or even before Tyrion, like even still in season 4, when like I think the whole thing with I forget what he is, but the guy who owns like sheep or goats, and he comes in with his burned daughter.
Yes.
Like it's a very important moment, but again, it feels like we've seen it already before with all of these characters. But again, like I think this episode in particular has done a really, really good job. But as you said, like presenting this like slow burn. I have a hard time calling it like a transition to madness, because I'm watching the show and I do think that Rhaenyra will do these very dark things moving on, but I feel like she's actually gonna have a reason, and 2, I don't think it's gonna be so much more of her being mad, but like people perceiving her as mad. We'll talk about the whole rat situation with the highborns later, but I can see people seeing that, and like us as the audience, we're like, fuck yeah. But like in universe, you being one of those people in that table, like, what the fuck is wrong with this woman? We'll get into it. We'll get into it. But
it could be a bold thing because in the books, Rhaenyra turns mad, but like Ryan could be doing a bold thing. People hate this guy. But right near they could be doing a bold thing where it's like they just make it more. And again, I haven't read the books, but like they could make it more of a tragedy where we know like all the things that she's dealing with from like her personal perspective, and like her ultimate fate is a lot more tragic than a Mad Queen dying.
From the outside it looks like she's going insane, but we have the context type of thing.
So we could get like diving deeper into like the just overall tragedy, so this whole thing is a tragedy, right? The fall of the Targaryen dynasty is like a bit of a tragedy, but like getting it from Rhaenyra's perspective can make it even more of a, like from an audience perspective, like we're more attached than like the overall perspective.
But speaking of Rhaenyra and the things that she has to deal with, let's get into it, because one of the first things that she's hit with as the Black Council is starting to form without the guys from Dragonstone, which she immediately refuses to bring back. Which honestly, same girl.
I just pictured they're like, so Rhaenyra's gonna fetch a carriage for us, right? Like, any day now, right? Any day now. It's like nobody's coming. You better walk.
Go back home, people. But one of the first things that she's hit with is the fact that the Lannisters have moved the crown's gold from King's Landing, and we don't know where it is. And the only other person that might have known was Sir Jasper, and fucking Daemon killed him, and he's like laughing. Oh no!
Yes, like Dan and Otto. Otto would have known too, but it's like heads have rolled, and like they have no idea where they are.
This is one of the moments where it feels like very officey, very. Like halfway through the episode, I was like, I feel like I'm getting a Succession episode within House of the Dragon.
This is big Succession, especially again at the end of the episode when Rhaenyra realized that Daeron's fake. Great, Emma and Olivia were cooking with fire in that episode. They're like a lot of head turning, which is so great. But yeah, it's like a lot of the gold is gone. I was like, what do we do now? I'm like, if I'm Daemon here, my Daemon brain, I'm like, get 2 dragons, fly over to Casterly Rock. We can settle this within 24 hours. Yo, Casterly Rock, y'all got some money. What happened, right? Like, if they can't find the Master of Coin was a Lannister. What was his name?
Tylan.
Was it Tylan? It's like we can't find Tylan. He's dead, not dead, whatever.
Very much. I don't think he's dead at this point.
I don't think
they're bringing it up, like they brought it up so obviously that I'm like red herring right there.
But either way, like what is he doing? Is he an important character in the books? Like, is he?
He is later on after the whole thing ends. He's a very important character.
Okay, so
I am worried that the show, not so much the show, but audience members, once we get to season 4, are gonna be like,
who is he?
Like who are we talking about? Yeah. But that's a problem for another day.
But yeah, it's like, okay, just fly over to Castle Rock, threaten them, get some money. Because where else could it be, right? Like it had to go to somewhere. Either Old Town, Castle Rock. Y'all had to have sent it somewhere. And I like how the Maester was like, they purposely hit it in case this happened, right? In case shit comes to a head where Rhaenyra takes over, she's gonna have no money. Ha 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 ha. So it's like, well, damn. Like, what do we do now? So this creates an interesting conundrum because you're coming in, and it reminds me of like modern day politics, right? Where 2-party system, Democrats, Republicans. Whenever somebody comes into power, it's like, oh, I gotta fix what happened to the last presidency, and then they get ousted. It's like, oh, now I gotta fix what they did. But you're spending so much time, quote unquote, fixing it that you don't really accomplish much. So then the citizens, the voters, are just like, this guy didn't do anything. So it's a lot of back and forth about like, well, I'm trying to fix and reverse. And this creates an entire, decades long, messiness. So now it's kind of what Rhaenyra is sitting down with. It's like she's like, okay, I inherited this mess on top of course, new messes that happen every day. So it's a lot of shit that she has to deal with right here. I also like Rhaenyra's first line in the episode where she's looking over Viserys' bed. She's like, the air is filled with ghosts. I'm like, Rhaenyra is such a Shakespearean queen. Like every episode, like remember last week when she was talking to Jason's ghost, she was kind of just like very much very Shakespearean monologue. Like, why'd you do this, Jace? Like, what have you done? Like she was performing in theater. And then this episode starts off with like, the air is thick with ghosts. I was like, this has to be a line from a Shakespeare play or something. Because it just feels so like funny and like deep and complex. Like this is full on Shakespeare. But yeah, Rhaenyra is dealing with a lot right now, and the coin is a prime example of all this.
Yeah, they do mention Joanna Lannister, which is currently kind of like the head of House Lannister at the moment, since Jason is dead and Talon is presumably dead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, I don't want to jump too much ahead, but I do wonder if maybe the show will adapt the Red Kraken storyline of the dance, where the the Iron Islands, the Greyjoys, kind of take advantage that there's no man in charge, so they kind of go to the Western lands and try to, you know, raid the lands. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll see. Maybe, I mean, Joanna Lannister was dropped. Her name was dropped, so we'll see if that
Okay,
happens.
maybe, hopefully. Um, so yeah, Rhaenyra's dealing with no coins. Daemon's already saying like we got to kill Daeron, which is very funny. Um, but I like this. Where again or early on before this, she's like, I want to be legitimately crowned. Like that was a big part of this episode, like in terms of legitimacy, the concept of legitimacy. Um, Rhaenyra wants to deal with being like legitimately crowned as queen, so she deals that with the High Septon later on. You know, the concept of legitimacy comes back into play with Corlys's whole ordeal as well. What does she wear? How does she act to the people, to the rich? It's like, how does she get legitimacy, and where does legitimacy come from Rhaenyra's perspective? All that is just very fascinatingly challenged and talked about in this episode. But yeah, the queen, the greens have the gold. Also, this conversation was very, very funny. As you mentioned, very office like. So like they're like, okay, the greens have the gold. What do we do? Like, you know, setting up the table around them, and then she's like, "Oh, Massaria, you're my mistress of whispers." And Damon like turned around like, "What's going on here?" Like it's very, very funny. And then there's just the whole tug and pull between Damon and Massaria here, because Massaria this episode and this kind of scene starts it off. Massaria is really about like, you know, legitimacy from
For
the
the people.
people. She's for the
Yeah.
people, by the people, of the people. She wrote the Declaration of Independence. She's really for the people in this. And Damon's all just like, fuck the people. So it's just like this is the way of the world. It is what it is. So it is very interesting. Um, but yeah, Damon just pretty much just wants to conquer. But then we get a lot of these. What's the next scene here? Do we get the petitions?
I think, well, before the
Um,
petitions, one thing I do like that throughout the episode we keep seeing the workers, I guess, in the Red Keep, throwing away all the green decorations, and
yes.
it just constantly, like, every, like, when Damon presents Daeron to Rhaenyra, and you can kind of see them in the background kind of working on it. And then we see like the knighthood of Hugh and Adam, and they're like collecting it on this big pile, and then, like, you know, it all goes back to the very end, where like they're like finally burning it, like in the courtyard. So there's, I like that there's like this like small storyline happening in the background.
Yeah.
I really love those kind of details with the show and Game of Thrones as well. But yeah, before the petitions start, we get that scene between Rhaenyra and I believe it's Diana, the name of her, like,
Maid?
worker, her main, yeah, her main and like assistant.
Yeah.
I forgot, honestly, her exact name. I think it might be Diana. But anyway, I like that, again, like you were talking about, like how she's looking for things to legitimize her claim, and
Yeah.
she's like going through the process of picking each item, and for a second she's like, I want to wear my son's sword with me, and the maid is like, well, it kind of like goes against your whole point about peace, right? So again, I love those type of scenes where characters are just like processing how they're going to be perceived by other people, which is a big theme with Rhaenyra throughout this episode, as you mentioned also later on with Corlys and the Addam Alyn of it all. Um, and then a very curious scene moment, I guess, that people have noted that might have something to play later on in the show. By the time the show wraps and Rhaenyra's arc is wrapped, the fact that she's bleeding, and they make a big fuss about it, even later on, that she's like drinking the tea, the moon tea or whatever, like during the
Yeah.
council meeting, of kind of like implying that she might be able to like get pregnant again. What does that mean?
Oh,
We'll
okay.
see. I don't know.
I didn't even think about that. But yeah. You know, she is on her. She's dealing with a lot of shit. Then she's like, oh yeah, now she's on her period too. So it's like,
Yeah.
well, shit. Like she's bleeding. She's not sleeping. Like this is This is hell. Not what she really wanted on her first days in office.
Yeah, but from here we do get the petition scene.
The petition, I love this. Like we get multiple petition scenes, right? When she's on the throne, but even when she's like just walking and talking with the gold cloak behind her, just like, there's candles. Like, we need candles. We need bed chambers. Like people are just like constantly thrust upon her. And this is when she first starts to see like the rats as well. And she's like, what is going on here? So it's a lot of just like in this so high octane. The camera is like really like in our face, in Rhaenyra's face the whole time, as people are just like rushing in these tight hallways of King's Landing. It's just like everybody's so like claustrophobic and just brushing up upon her. And the score and the sound work is just like slowly rising and elevating as people are just really rushing her to finally people are like, just shut up. She'll get to it later. Like, come on. So it is all just like super fascinating. But yeah, and then what's it called? But then she starts getting petitions for like bed chambers, wine, candles. There's really tons of issues here, and I really love this because we've gotten a lot of, difficulty. The show has showcased a lot of difficulties in contrast to like Aegon, right? Like season 2 when Aegon tried to be ruler for a day, and Otto kind of has to take over. Try and help him out because Aegon had no idea what he was doing. But even in those episodes, it was more so like we get a snapshot of Aegon trying to rule, cut to Aemon, cut to Alicent, cut to Otto. Like this is just no. We're gonna stick with the uncomfortability that Rhaenyra is facing here as she's getting all these petitions from people. It's also fascinating.
Yeah, and as you bring out Aegon, it does mirror I think it's episode 1, might be episode 1, of season 2 when Aegon is like trying to rule and hearing all of these petitions. And even as I'm rewatching season 2 right now, I'm like, he doesn't even sound like that bad of a king. Like he wants to please the people, but again, like sometimes pleasing the people isn't what's right for the family or for the realm as a whole. But you see that like contrast with Rhaenyra now and her trying to basically do the same thing that Aegon was trying to do in season 1 and in season 2 episode 1. So that's a nice contrast that I really liked. But the detail is, again, it's more of a visual cue, but the detail that I really adored was Sylvi, this woman, that's kind of like works in the pleasure house or whatever, that presents herself as somebody who works for Mysaria. It's the same woman that Aemon has been like sleeping with, like I guess his whole life, I guess, or whatever. When she comes in and she petitions for herself and the common people, and the fact that all the high lords have been like hoarding food and supplies from the common people, from the smallfolk, and Rhaenyra's kind of like trying to deal with it. And I like later on that Corlys points out that, well, the blockade happened because you demanded it. Like,
let's ignore that.
It's kind of your fault. But again, going back to the visual cue that I was alluding to, I like that Sylvi presents this problem of these fucking basically rats of these lords hoarding food and eating. Thanks mostly because the throne, the king in Aegon's case, allowed them to. And the fact that we cut to Rhaenyra noticing this mouse, this rat, feeding off of the Iron Throne is like, again, like it's really fun, like visual storytelling that I really like when the show does little things like that.
Yeah, it's very awkward. This is a very tense challenge here. It's like, okay, I like that first thing she says, like, is this true? Like, is this really going on here? And they're all like, yeah, this is pretty much very, very much true. But there are people who were like, they were loyal to Rhaenyra, right? Like they were like loyal to Rhaenyra. What else were they supposed to do? So it immediately puts Rhaenyra on edge, and I love this because, like, okay, what do you do now? Do you contend? Do you just say, okay, this happened, so let's move on? Because these rich people could be possible allies, right? Like they have connections, they are rich, they are, some of them nobility, or like. They could be possible allies for Rhaenyra. That could be a direction she could have chosen. But again, she also listens to her mistress whispers with Mysaria, and Mysaria is for the people. So she goes like the complete opposite direction, which is a choice. It's a more theatrical and risky choice that we'll get into with the dinner. But I like it because like we'll talk about it here in a second. But like if she's not getting legitimized by the faith, the people could be the next best thing. The people, even though the people are much more fickle, as you just said. So it's like, there's a lot of different legitimizing here. I also like the part with the before that. I like the part with the sheep conversation, which was very funny in this scene as well, where she's like, well, the sheep, we're running out of wool. It's like, okay, can't you just like shave the sheep before you feed them? It's like, well, now we're running low on food. Like, what do we do here? It's like, oh shit, let's use the Kingswood. Oh, like you can't use the Kingswood. No. It's like, okay, fine. How about
get the rabbits?
Just the rabbits from the Kingswood. It's like, oh shit. It's like it's so cool because like we know Rhaenyra is a very intelligent person, but like she wasn't like raised up to be like completely.
She wasn't at all.
To be knowledgeable about all this kind of shit. So she's kind of like really she's trying to follow Viserys, but at the same time, Viserys. It was so fun about this episode in general is like she's trying to follow Viserys a lot of the way. The episode starts off with her in Viserys' room, but like at the same time, Viserys, as we all know, was a very, very flawed person. But that's her father, so it's like she idolizes her father. She wants to be like her father, who lived during "quote unquote" peacetime because he wasn't really doing shit. And she wants to like be emblematic of that. But at the same time, it's like your father was very flawed, so you shouldn't follow him completely to a T, right? You have to do things your own way as well. So it's just very fascinating.
Yeah. Two things. One, she absolutely knows that her father wasn't the best. Also, even though it was a peaceful rule because again, nothing really happened. But I love that Mysaria asked her about it during the council meeting, and she asked, "What would your father would have done?" And Rhaenyra's response says everything of like he would have probably thrown like a big feast, which would have solved nothing. So that's one. And then point number two, I think this episode in particular with Rhaenyra having to deal with all of this shit basically by herself, because even the people in her council, like at some point she asked Corlys for his advice, and Corlys is like, "It's up to you," and she was like, "Useless." But I think that this episode really highlights just how much of a huge loss losing Jace was, because say whatever you want about Jace, he was great at diplomacy. He got the Starks, Norsemen, to come back to the south and support her. He got the Vale. He got the fucking Riverland, so the Norsemen could pass through.
The phrase, right? Was
the
that
phrase? Yeah. That was him in season 2. So again, he was great at that. Like he should have just focused on that and not trying to be like this warrior type of fucking kid.
You're gonna make me tear up again, man. I missed Jace already. Where you at, Harry? Come back.
Like honestly, like. Even though it has happened before where a king names their heir Hand of the King. But honestly, like Jace would have been like solid. Like, yeah, he would have been a kid, basically this teenager, but he was good at it. He would have been a good Hand of the King, even though Hand of the Queen, even though Corlys already had the title. But again, like,
it reminds me of what's it called? In what's the show we watched earlier this year? Night of Seven Kingdoms.
Night of Seven Kingdoms. Egg being like wise, even though he's
the guy that dies. He was a prince, right? He wasn't like the full on king yet at the time.
Baelor. Well, he was the heir. Yeah,
he was the heir, right?
He was kind of the king.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So Baelor kind of reminded me of Jace in what you're kind of saying there. Was like Jace could have been like kind of like that Baelor-esque figure, right? Where it's like the heir, but also everybody loves him and he's so like kind and generous. While Rhaenyra has to do all the queen shit. Like we could have gotten something like that. Jace had a bright future ahead. Goddamn arrows and
thank you, Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra, where are you at? Rhaenyra? Where you at? There's some hints about like coming to the Vale later on. But yeah. But yeah, so that was just so it's so fascinating seeing all that kind of stuff happening.
But yeah, want to touch real quick because we already kind of like touch about Rhaenyra ruling by the people. Now we can move on to Rhaenyra trying to rule by the fates, which kind of blows up in her face.
Exactly. So she goes over to the High Septon, right? It's like, okay, the High Septons, on my schedule, I got a 2:00 meeting with the High Septon. This will be 5 minutes. All I got to do is say, hey, we're good. And then she's out. It doesn't really happen that way. The High Septon comes up to her and he's just like, he is so, what do I say? It's like standoffish immediately. She's like, well, he basically says, no, I can't do it because I don't see no body with Aegon. Like,
where's the body?
Where's the body?
He has seen too many YouTube videos. If no body, then he's alive.
There's no body. Yeah, I've been through these rodeos before. And from his perspective, like, I don't want to be made to look like a fool if I legitimize you, and then Aegon rises from the ashes per se, and there he is again. It's not going to look good from the faith, from the gods, right? From that point of view. I think before this, did she already have that talk with Alicent before this, where Alicent's like, just make it seem like, hey, just make it seem like Aegon's dead, right? You know, just lie.
They keep mentioning that the dragon is dead.
Yeah,
we'll see.
You know, Daemon says when he comes back from, like, you know, traversing, he's like, Sunfire's long dead and decaying.
He's decaying in the Riverlands or something like that,
which is very interesting. But yeah, so that's happened, and then on top of that, Alicent's just like, because when you talk to Alicent, she's just like, you're gonna have to rule, you're gonna have to, you know, close some doors that you didn't think you'd have to do. But on top of that, she's like, just make sure that, or just say that Aegon's dead. Just lie. He was burned. He doesn't even look like his old self anymore. No one will believe him anyways. You can handle it for a later time, but for now, just say that he is dead. But the High Septon is not having that argument. And what I loved about this scene is that the High Septon is, you know, one could argue the High Septon is more connected to, like, the High Towers from a religious point of view. That could be a thing.
Well, the faith is from Old Town.
From Old Town. So that could be a little bit of bias, internal bias from the High Septon. But also what I really love here is that Rhaenyra's earlier, before she mentions Aegon, her argument is that, like, but the gods have chosen me. Last season, the dragons, you know, came to my side. Like, you know, the whole dragon seed argument. And the High Septon isn't having that either. He's like, oh, the dragons were created by darkness and pride. Like, that's not my religion. Those dragons, that's not us. Which is so fascinating, that that dichotomy between, like, you know, the lords of the faith, the high Septon, the gods from that side of things, in terms of Rhaenyra's, you know, Valyrian dragonborn-esque dark magic. Because you know, I haven't read any books. It might still be, it's still kind of mysterious in terms of, like, dragon creation, dark magic kind of shit. I watched this one video a while back about, like, dragon creation and darkness and how curses and all that kind of shit. But yeah, so the High Septon is very much against all of that shit. So he's like, I'm not going to give it to you just because you have dragons on your side now.
Yeah. I'm not the only saying this because the Targaryens are, like, my people.
Yeah.
But I do think that the whole religion of the Seven does seem to me, it has always seemed to me like a little bit of bullshit. Like, kind of like a made up thing. If anything, if there's anything close to being a religion in this world, and I mean, George purposely kind of does this too in the books of, like, there's all of these, like, different factions. But, like, there's one that kind of, like, seems like the most true to one is the people who believe in the old gods, like the trees and stuff like that. But, like, I find it interesting when he calls the dragons as this tool of destruction. They're made of darkness or whatever. And I find it interesting because it's very obvious that maybe one of the reasons why the White Walkers reemerge is because the dragons died. That's some of the many implications in the books of, like, when did they wake up again? When did they start to be active? And, like, oh, well, maybe when the dragons died after the dance. And the fact that it becomes even more active, even more of a threat after the dragons are reborn. And, like, yes, like, obviously fire is that's very destructive thing, but it could also be very purifying. So like even though, like, so even though they don't have this conversation between the two in the show, I feel like consciously, us as the audience, we have that in our heads of, like, you're describing it as this thing, but also this thing that you're describing is the very thing that helps basically save the world. And it later on goes with the scene, kind of like you compare it with the scene with Daemon, how he's describing his house as, like, oh, like, we should just be treated as gods. We shouldn't even have to be dealing with, like, no faith. But I do like the last warning that he gives her of, don't go against the faith, because every time that it has happened, or there has been possibilities of the Targaryens to go in against the faith, it doesn't end well for you guys.
Not at all.
And the last time that there was like this huge skirmish, I guess you could say, was the first time that there was a trial by 7 that we know of in the story, which was between Maegor and the Faith, and Maegor was the only survivor of that trial of 7, which we saw also in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the show is planting the seed of, first of all, the whole thing with the people, and Rhaenyra being for the people, but will they turn on her at some point if anything goes down? Especially, we're setting up the whole thing with Tumbleton, and how will the people turn on her? Will they side with the faith maybe, and will that start like this whole other thing that Rhaenyra will have to deal with later on?
Exactly. Like if she loses faith of the people as a backbone, she could at least have the faith of the 7, the faith of the gods on her side, as like a backup. But as we see in this episode, she's getting a no from the faith, and the people was like, high
50,
up and down. You never really know. Even though it might work out in this episode. So that's very fascinating. But legitimacy doesn't stop there. Right after her talk with the High Septon later that night for dinner, she thinks she can just relax and chill with Addam, Alyn, and Corlys. Okay, I've had a lot of bullshit today. I just want to eat some chicken with my best friend. I didn't mean to say chicken just because they're black, but like they're just gonna have some dinner with Addam and Corlys and all of them. Like, okay, we're doing good, guys. Let's take a breath. Let's just have some food and chill. Corlys is like, not today. Corlys is like, hey, you know what? I don't think even Corlys probably thought like this was just a casual thing. Hey, I have Addam and Alyn here. We know last week, we saw, and Corlys, this has been the main thing from Corlys from season 1 about legitimacy, who gets to run, like, his lineage, his legacy is very, very, very important to Corlys. And then we saw just last week, his house is burning, but he goes to Alyn, the bald one, and says like, hey, he says, your name is better than any mountain of gold. So we got like the okay from Alyn. Okay, cool. Now let me just go to Rhaenyra. I'm her. What is he? Is he the hand of the king? Hand of the queen?
He is hand of the queen.
So he's like, okay, cool. This is gonna be an easy yes. So he just brings it up at dinner saying, I want these 2 boys to be Velaryon. And on top of that, also Rhaenys in season 2 was like, also he got like the support of her a little bit in season 2. So he's just like, okay, all this is backing me up. Rhaenyra, I want these guys to be Velaryons. And she tables this kind of a little bit in this scene. She's just like, she's obviously uncomfortable, but she tables it about. We can just fast forward to when she legitimately says no in the hallway scene later on after the whole knighting. And in that scene, she really stands down and says like, these people can't be legitimized right now. And this is difficult for Corlys because he's done so much. He nearly died. He's fought. He's bled for Rhaenyra. All he wants is for Rhaenyra to legitimize his new 2 bastards. But Rhaenyra has a history with bastards, right? Her Jace, the strong boys were bastards. And the last person who called him out on that, Daemon, he's dead and gone, head cut off. So it's difficult for Rhaenyra in her second day in office, basically, to legitimize bastards, even though her own sons are also bastards. And in the back of Rhaenyra's mind, if she was to legitimize, these 2 bastards, Addam and Alyn, as Velaryon, it could set a bad message in terms of legitimacy for herself in terms of Joffrey, her only other remaining son, who is also a bastard. So it set a bad message, a bad precedent for just her early days in office. Part of me does think if Corlys says this like a year or 2 later, when things have settled, it might be a little bit better. But right now, of course, with all the mounting pressures, legitimizing bastards just isn't a good foot to set on, to put on right now for Rhaenyra. But of course, understandably from Corlys' end, it's not a good answer. And he is pissed and starts basically copying Daemon's playbook and just starts yelling about her children being bastards. And I love Emma's performance here because it hits her because she is usually on the side of bastards. She, Corlys was on the side, defended her when the Strong Boys thing happened. And of course, Rhaenyra obviously supports it because her own sons are bastards. So it is very, very fascinating. It's sad, it's troubling. I understand where both sides are coming from, but it's very messy. And it was a very delicious scene too, both the dinner and the full out argument.
Yeah, I love the scene. I think what's fascinating about it, and again, like yourself, I see kind of like both sides, but I am leaning more towards Corlys on this than Rhaenyra, in the sense that he brings a perfectly fine point, and it is that it's not so much that you think it's too early; it's that you're ashamed that you yourself have done this.
Yeah.
And part of the shame, I think, also comes from the fact that Rhaenyra knows that she has had Corlys's support about those children of hers day one.
From the jump.
Um, I to this day, one of my favorite lines in the show, if not my favorite line in the show, is the one with from Corlys when he's talking to Rhaenys about it after the funeral, after Rhaenyra's funeral, and that line of history does not remember blood, it remembers names. And again, like you said, it's always been a thing with Corlys about his legacy and who's gonna get to inherit it. Um, I it's very tricky, and part of it, it's fascinating too because this is kind of implied in the books, but it's not really dived into. So I guess you could say like it's kind of like sort of new material about this like little conflict between Corlys and Rhaenyra that will keep growing in the future. But I think the show is doing a really smart thing that it's making it personal for Corlys of why he's having this, clashing with Rhaenyra. Because it's not just like, oh, like you did something bad or whatever, or we lost a battle or anything like that. It's more like I've been with you from day one, and this is how you're like thanking me, type of thing. So I think it's gonna be very fascinating how the relationship between Rhaenyra, Corlys. She doesn't really have a relationship with Alyn, but she definitely has one with Addam, and just the back and forth doing the knighthood of Addam, you can just see the betrayal in his face, the way that he reacts when Rhaenyra says Addam of Hall. And he has been probably his most loyal person on her side since, I don't know, Rhaenys. Even though like we haven't really seen Addam do much, like we're constantly reminded just how loyal he is to her, because of what she has given to him.
Exactly. Remember, we've been keeping track of these three since episode 1 when they're talking by the campfire in near Rook's West, and we're like, okay, the other two are having, especially Ulf is having disagreements. Hugh's kind of in the middle, but Addam, we've always put Addam on the side of Rhaenyra because he's just like, let's just do what the order. That's kind of what he is as a person, right? Like as like his job, his blue collar job before even getting thrust into the Velaryon lineage again. He was just like just doing his own shit. And it's kind of like what he is doing now. He's like really for Rhaenyra until now. It's like if we're keeping track of these three nuclear bomb holders, Ulf, Hugh, and Addam, it's like, okay, we're starting to see both from Hugh and Addam here possibly some discrepancies, some disagreements here. Because Addam's like, he doesn't say anything this episode, but like his facial, as you mentioned, his facial expression when he says Addam of Hall, you're not Addam Velaryon yet, you're Addam of Hall, was very just like a little bit disheartening for him. Because again, from his father, he's like, we're going to be good. But
yeah, I think what makes it worse is that not just to Corlys, but she even says it to the High Septon. She keeps bringing up Addam and the fact that he claimed a dragon for her as a point of legitimacy, and the fact that she doesn't, comply with the request, which is, again, it is a very simple request. It's just literally just like basically just like firming a paper. That's it. It's very messy. It's very messy.
But let's talk about that knighthood scene as well. I thought that was very funny. Again, some good comedy. Like you said earlier in the episode about it being shot from Rhaenyra's perspective. They go to Ulf, who is straight from The Office. Ulf, what do you want to be called? Ulf Targaryen? No, no,
absolutely not.
They're like, oh, not gonna happen. Next, please. He's like, fuck. Okay. Ulf the White. Sure. Why not? Like, okay. Ulf the White. Hugh, what about you? He was like, well,
I'm I'm a
I'm a
blacksmith
blacksmith
by trade.
By trade, so hammers. Okay, cool. And then Adam,
Badass
okay.
name, by the way.
Yeah, Hugh the Hammer is badass. Like, okay, own that shit, man. That's just so cool. But again, I like how Ryan Connell talks about it at the end of the episode about how like so flippant Daemon is, especially with Ulf. It's like he's like it's like you're almost like getting the side of his face a little bit. It's just like it's so funny. It's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. Okay, good. We're done here. Let's go. I like how it's ironic how like the most, I guess Game of Thrones with Brienne is very official as well, but it felt more like it was a very heartwarming moment for Brienne when Jaime did it to her. One of the only memorable things of season 8. But anyways, I will contend that was more so like, okay, shit's coming next episode. We got to do this. I think the coolest version of that has been this year in Night of the Seven Kingdoms when we saw it happening to I forget what it was, the Squire guy, or was it to it was like to the random Squire person to
yeah.
That scene was just like had so much aura behind it, so much like awesomeness to it. In contrast, compare that scene to what we get here. It's so funny. I mean, completely different. But staying on the dragon seeds in the direction where they could be going, I love the seed here, for lack of a better word, of Hugh talking to Rhaenyra shortly after this. Rhaenyra was like, okay, I had my meeting with the dragon seeds. I can just move on to the next thing. Oop, nope. Hugh is back saying, oh, wait, my wife is gone. I came here. She has left. And Rhaenyra's like, okay, just ask her back. And he was like, okay, cool, I'll ask her to come back, but we need a home. Or are we gonna, are we able to have any kind of home, anything? We were just named knights, right? And it's funny because again in episode 1, when Ulf was talking about like owning castles, like what can a knight own? It's like, well, you can own certain things or whatever. But a castle was brought up there, and then it's just so funny that Hugh just asking for like, any kind of home. Where can me and my wife be? And Rhaenyra again is just like, I'll settle this later. We'll table this, but I'll get right back to you on this. So it's like it's sowing a seed that if Rhaenyra never comes back to Hugh and his wife comes back, it leaves Hugh in a very messy and unfortunate spot. Because again, Hugh has also done not a lot for Rhaenyra, but he got a dragon for her. He's an additional big power play for Rhaenyra, and we've always seen Hugh as a big not a big defender, but just like a noble dude. But if she starts like, because Hugh's also a big family man, so if Rhaenyra doesn't support his family, that could be a very big crack for Hugh and Rhaenyra's relationship. Just like Addam and Rhaenyra, that crack can be formed based off of family as well. So a lot of these early alliances that Rhaenyra has had that she's also used for legitimacy in terms of like the High Septon are starting to show cracks. Again, it's very big reality TV. When you have so many alliances and you don't get back to them, it's not going to be good. You got to touch base with your people. You got to help out your people. And that includes Addam and Hugh. But I also want to talk about later on in the episode, she sees a ghost of Baela. She sees ghosts of Jace. What do you take with these scenes? Or do you even think that scene with Baela was that a ghost, or do you think that was actually Baela in that scene?
No, that was Baela. Baela's alive.
She's alive, but was Baela actively in the castle at that time? I don't know.
I mean, I think it's more to like convey the fact that she isn't really talking to anybody from her old council, including Baela.
Mm-hmm. Is she still banging Baela as well for going along with Jace?
Probably, even though I believe she did send her to like the Riverlands just to scout, and that's how Daemon got the news that Sunfire is just like laying somewhere, decaying or whatever. But the scene with Jace, first of all, Harry Collette just getting paychecks to just like walk around and like go leave it, like, hell yeah, man, good for you. But again, like we've been talking a lot about these signals, these signs of Rhaenyra, quote unquote, going mad, going insane, and the fact that she's now like starting to see the ghost of the people that she's lost, in this case Jace. Very telling of where she is mentally, emotionally, and the fact that all of these people are like just adding more fuel to the fire is obviously not gonna help. Rhaenyra would fucking hate being in her home. But yeah, it's a nice moment. It's a nice moment. But I think we need to start talking about Rhaenyra and Alicent, because there's some meaty stuff in
Oh
here
yeah,
too.
yeah. So which
Um,
scene do you want to talk about here? The one with Allison talking about Daeron and like what she's gonna do with him at the end or earlier on.
yeah, I mean, we can. I guess we can kind of compile that until the end, because there's only like 2, maybe 3 scenes with Alicent.
Yeah, we can all
Um,
combine them.
one of my favorite lines in the episode from Alicent is they're having this back and forth, trying to like see where the gold is, um, kind of like throwing it at her face that Aemon is not there, that Aegon is not in the castle, um, and Alicent just like being done with her bullshit and just saying like, "Would you only blame me for what men have done?"
Ooh,
And you're like pointing out all of these things that were out of her control, and yet you're not like, not even a thank you for like just opening the gates for you, sending Aemon away. Like the plan was to attack Aemon through the dragon seas, but that's not on Alicent. That's on her fucking people just leaving the place.
exactly.
So I like that scene. I love that that we're finally getting some back and forth between Rhaenyra and Helena, even though like Helena is again like this very quiet, shy person, just kind of in the background, kind of like playing with her hands, but she's still making some solid points of like, you how did it make you feel better, the fact that you kill my grandfather? Did it make you feel better about Jace? Really, really good.
But
And even
Helene,
her response being like, well, the plan was for it to be Aegon, and well, he wasn't here, so Otto would do. And Helena just gives Allison this quick look of like, you agreed to this?
I love that. Yeah, because Rainier just lets it slip like, oh yeah, me and your mother agreed to have your brother killed, and Helena's like looks at the camera like, what is going on here? It's so good. Like, again, some slightly good comedy from Helena. I was like, oh, whoops,
Where's her
Mom?
chickens?
Yeah, like like mom, like this isn't. Like, you were gonna kill my brother. What?
My
You
brother
agreed to that?
husband?
My brother husband. You agree to that? Cool. Okay, whatever. That was very funny. But yeah, Helena giving some good points, and Allison's right because like Allison, as we always talk about, is a character with not a lot of agency. But last week she showcased a little bit of her social capital by talking, going to the guards, going to like the barracks up top, being like, "Don't shoot Rhaenyra," open the gates for Rhaenyra. She did a lot for Rhaenyra. The only thing she didn't do was like get Aegon, and she's getting punished for it by getting stuck in this room. And I love how Rhaenyra was like, "You get room service, I'll feed you well, you'll be fine." And they were just like, "Damn!" It's like we wanted to leave, like we still can't leave unless you kill one of our family members. Then you're able to have us leave. It's a very precarious position for Allison, but the back and forth is still so delicious. And yeah, they also have Allison also has one of my favorite quotes as well in this episode with the uh when they're talking about Viserys as well in terms of like ruling, and Viserys had a whole he constructed a palace all his own, and we've never stepped foot in it. Like he was doing shit that we've just never stepped foot in. Like it was some very good again Shakespearean dialogue from Alicent about Viserys because she knew Viserys. However uncomfortable it was, she knew Viserys very closely. Not as good as like a father-daughter in Rhaenyra's aspect, but like again, when Viserys was getting ill, as Rhaenyra talked about, it was Otto and Alicent really kind of in charge of everything there a little bit. So it's very precarious. This friendship is a lot of cracks and a lot of uncomfortability happening already here.
Yeah. And part of what I really enjoyed about this back and forth in the episode is the fact that Rhaenyra keeps throwing these, like, I guess you could call them aggressions towards Alicent, but presenting them as if it's like a nice thing. Like for example, when he's like talking to Alicent and Helena, like, "Oh, I'm not gonna treat you bad, but I'm not gonna let you see your daughter. You're not gonna see your daughter like 2 hours a day." And it's like, again, like I kind of see why, because you don't want these people to just be like walking around the castle, but at the same time, it's like that's a child, and you're a mother. You lost your children not too long ago, literally just yesterday. Like, and also the fact that I don't think anybody. I mean, see, it happens in season 2, but the fact that Rhaenyra hasn't really acknowledged the fact that they did, even though she didn't order it, they did kill one of Helena's kids.
Yeah.
And she just added again more to the fire again of like, oh, and we're gonna take away your daughter, and you're gonna be able to see it like once a day or whatever. So there's that one, and then later on when she comes back to just see
Yes.
Allison, and Allison asks like, could you at least do me the favor of sending my father's remains to Old Town so he can be properly buried or whatever.
She says yes.
And then to her credit, she does say yes, but then she brings up the fact that they have Daeron. Or
yes.
Farron. We'll call him Farron for now. Fake Daeron. They have him, and she's like, "Oh, we're not gonna kill him, but we'll send him to the wall." And Allison is like, "Am I supposed to get on my knees and thank you?" Like,
yeah, do you wish me to thank you right now? Like,
yeah,
I literally took us on fire there. She's like, what? The wall is hell right now. Like, Game of Thrones made the wall look so cool because when Jon gets there, that's when White Walkers are happening, so shit starts happening. But right now, the wall is hell. There's nothing going on. It's like it's pure, just like we're freezing to death. We will die there. That's pretty much it. So, right, it's pretty much hell. I was like, oh my god. Like, again, a fate worse than death. You never know.
Yeah, and again, like from Rhaenyra's perspective, like that would be a sensitive thing to do. Of like, we're not gonna kill him, but we'll send him to the wall. I mean, that's the original deal that Ned got in season 1 before he got beheaded by Joffrey. But yeah, like again, like the fact that she does present out like, hey, I'm doing great, right? Like, no. But I mean, another thing that Rhaenyra could have done is just like keep Daeron as a ward, kind of like how the Starks kept Theon as a ward in Winterfell. But again, like later on, third scene that we get with Allison, she finally presents her with Daeron, and immediately she's like, "Who the fuck is this?" I immediately thought of Kiki Palmer. I'm like, I don't know who this man is. Sorry to this man.
And I love how Rhaenyra talks it without Allison even saying a word. She's just like, it's just Olivia's look. It's just like, boom, boom, uh-oh. And Rhaenyra's like, he's not your son, is he? Like it's just like she knows Allison so well. Just the look of just like, oh shit, like it's not him.
Yeah, and again, going back to what I said at the beginning of this with Daemon, of like part of the tragedy is that these people don't even know each other and their family.
Yeah, like it's so bad. It's so awkward, and you know people are making fun of like the whole hair thing. It's like, these are some good. That's a good wig. God damn, that's good. It's good.
She's like, I should have thought about this when I had my children. With
like, it was so good. But yeah, she got played. She got played big time. Not good. So how is Rhaenyra going to act after the fact? How is she going to retaliate against Ormond here for this huge betrayal, this huge power play? But I also want to talk about another one of my favorite scenes with her and Daemon earlier on, as well at night. You know, where they're overlooking. This is after she fed rats to the to the rich, and the rich are pissed. Oh, by the way, in that scene, she meets I put his name in here because I wanted to ask you about him.
Something Manderly. I forgot what's his name.
Manderly. Is there a significance here with him? What do you think about that scene? Because everybody else is pissed about like getting fed rats, and the houses are getting ransacked at night, which Rhaenyra later gives to the peasants, to the citizens. But he's kind of like, okay, good play by you, Rhaenyra. I was like, okay, interesting character. They're making a show of him. Wonder what's going to happen later on with Manderly. He's played by a homeboy
from Fantastic Beasts. Yeah, that's the first thing that I thought about.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Fantastic Beasts guy. That's cool. And speaking of actors from other shit, Ormond's right-hand dude from Andor. I was like, oh, I just keep on thinking of the guy from Andor when I see Ormond in the High Towers. That was very funny as well. But yeah, Torrhen Manderly, there's going to be a significance with him as well. Anything else there for you that you don't know?
With what the whole stuff with the rats or Manderly? I mean, they're just introducing a new character that again. I did mention that that first episode really had me on a toe for this season, but you know, the stuff with Deb keep bringing up Sunfire, that he's dead, the fact that Tylan is dead, and now they're like introducing Torrhen Manderly. Is like, okay, I'm now starting to have a little bit more faith that we might get at least 2 episodes, maybe an episode or 2 dedicated to the Hour of the Wolf, because again, it is very significant to what happens in the story. Is it is the aftermath, and I feel like the show has to at least address it, because we need to know who sits the throne by the end.
Yeah, what's going on next? Yeah.
Yeah. So again, like we'll see how they pull this off with
I just remembered Missaria had the conversation with they're having a conversation at the council. It's like, if we need somebody to blame for the coins for missing money in the pot, we could hire somebody as the minister of coin and then just blame it on him. So they could hire this Torrin Manderly as a new minister of coin and then blame the missing money on him, make him the scapegoat. That could be a possible thing in the future for his character. What's up? Hey, hello. But then Daemon at night has a very interesting proposition for Rhaenyra. There's a lot of great lines. So we've seen it a lot. Like Missaria gets her way with Rhaenyra about giving food to the people, and Rhaenyra acts on that, and it's just part of Rhaenyra's personality. She ransacks the rich. Then later the next morning, even though she's uncomfortable, they go out and they give food and shit back to the peasants, and they're all happy.
It's also a way for her to get back at the High Septon, because she's doing it in front of the Septon.
In front of the Septon, it's literally right behind her. Yeah, literally in front of the High Septon's. High Septon probably looking out, what the hell is going on out there? It's very, very funny. She's right in front of her.
Socialist Rhaenyra, let's go.
Socialism. If I found Rhaenyra, I'd be like, hey, look what I'm doing. Yo, what's up? So it's very, very funny. So that's Missaria's influence and just Rhaenyra's, personality shining there, getting back at the High Septon. In contrast to Daemon, how is Daemon, what is he really pushing for Rhaenyra to do? And we see that at night when they're overlooking the balcony in a great scene where he's like, we now have 6 dragons. Aegon had 3, and he took over the entire continent. We could be, and I love how he switches over to High Velaryon in this moment too. It's we could really rule the continent. We could go over to Dorne. Because at this moment Dorne is still, not, with them, right?
Yeah.
So it's we can go over to Dorne. We can create we can, basically recreate this empire. The Valyrian Empire.
Essos, yeah.
Go to Essos. We can create this whole empire. E.T. So it's really E.T. So it's really putting Rhaenyra okay, maybe, but then of course she's still pulled back on but my father, my father really wanted, I want to be, my father wished me to be just a ruler with this first. Let me take care of the people first. That's what she's really going back to. But I love how Daemon is pushing. And it goes back to, again, the prophecy. What are they really here for? And from Rhaenyra's perspective, from the prophecy is I've also heard of the prophecy. My job is to unite through kindness, kindness and unity. Daemon was to unite through conquer. We're gonna forcibly unite, conquer everything, and that's how we'll combat the whole Song of Ice and Fire and the things to come. So it's different ways of trying to traverse the things to come from Daemon and Rhaenyra. So the relationship is very very fun to follow. The same people that when Rhaenyra is at her lowest, when she's afraid to sleep in her own bed, she goes to Daemon. But at the same time, she has these disagreements on the prophecy with Daemon as well in this episode. So their relationship is so complex. There are safe space, but at the same time, Daemon has also choked her in the past, has been very bad in the past. So it's very, very, very interesting to see where their relationship is at this point. But I love the whole different interpretations of this prophecy and their Valyrian heritage and what's next for them.
Yeah. First of all, hilarious that Daemon tries to pitch the idea at first with let's go check out those men with wings. I'm okay.
Is that the monsters on the east kind of thing?
Yeah. But I find it fascinating that just between these two characters, now that they know the prophecy and how dangerous it is to just completely lose focus on what the dream, the prophecy actually means, and how dangerous it's been to just keep the secret between family, from king to heir, basically.
Yeah.
Because Rhaenyra is still very much in the perspective of her father, of the dragons, we think that we could have control over them, but we really don't type of mentality. Um, and Damon has this like conqueror perspective, which I say it's fascinating because part of the reason, I mean, there's multiple reasons, but part of the reason why it seems like Aenar Targaryen, the the head of the house before they came to Westeros when they were still in Old Valyria, um, and they seem that he was like maybe one of the most progressive dragon lords in Old Valyria. And like the thing about the empire of Old Valyria is that it was very not it was very tyrannical. It was based on on slaving people, basically what Daemon is describing to do to all of these people. um and the fact that the Targaryens were like, okay, we just saw this dream, we don't want to be here, and we don't even like you because you're kind of like a dick, so we're just leaving. And then they get Aegon essentially gets the dream. And the fact that House Targaryen, before they even called Targaryen, um, um, were left. Part of the reason why they left was because they didn't want to be part of that empire anymore. Besides the fact that they saw the doom, and now, like many hundreds of years later, you see this character with Daemon and being like, oh, actually, now that we have this prophecy and we know what's up, like let's basically build an empire. It's like, no, dude, like that goes against like the very inception of why you even moved to this place to begin with.
Yeah, Damon's like, let's run it back, and they're like, don't run it back, don't do that.
Don't run it back, please. But yeah, like I like that Rhaenyra doesn't say no though, because again, it is establishing this thing of like her being in conflict with herself, kind of like leading to this darker path that she may or may not take as the episodes go on and the season develops. And she, like you said, she just says like, let's deal with this first before we even think about that. Yeah. And again, like she doesn't say no.
She doesn't say no. And what's so delicious about this is that, like, again, in the battle between Daemon and Mysaria this episode, she's doing some good things for Mysaria. But at the end of the episode, when things are burning and she gets slighted, when she gets made a fool of,
the Daemon little depth on
right?
the shoulder.
You have to think that she thinks automatically back to Daemon. She's like, okay, wait, they're thinking of me as a fool. Fire's burning in the background. She's glistening with anger. She's like, maybe at this point, maybe I should just do a little bit of conquer right here or burning right here. Because again, Daemon said we should have just burned the old town. The whole army up front. We should just burn them instead of just taking Daeron hostage. In the whole episode, he's like, kill Daeron, kill Daeron, kill Daeron.
Before I love that he leaves the balcony, and off screen you could just hear, when we need to kill Daeron.
Kill Daeron, please. Don't forget that. He's like, oh, Daemon. But yeah, so now it's like she made a fool of him. She's like, okay, maybe I should go follow a little bit of my Daemon in me and start burning some people up here now, because this is ridiculous. So again, it's so fascinating. It's a tug and pull. Again, a great close up again on Rhaenyra as well. So a lot of things are happening. I'm trying to make sure we missed anything here. Yeah, it's very good. And I was nervous leading up to this about like if we'll get some good Alicent stuff, as we talked about. Alicent still, Olivia Cook, like however slight or however many people might not like Alicent's character, Olivia Cook is continuing to deliver. But overall, I thought this was a great episode. Did we miss anything else, Edgar?
I don't think so. I mean, we did kind of bring it up. We did bring it up kind of like by passing, but she does call for Joffrey to be brought back to King's Landing from the Vale.
Good point. Yeah.
Nothing much going on there, but it is important for the future of the season.
And she mentioned in that conversation with Daemon that she says Daemon to go to the Vale as well, right? Is that what she sent Daemon to?
I believe so. Yeah.
So Baela and Addam are going to Lady Arryn to get Joffrey, or just to look for Sheep Stealer or whatever is going on there. So they're looking for Sheep Stealer while Daemon's like looking for the Vale. So like I can see a number. It might not just be Daemon who finds Rhaenyra. What if it's Daemon, Addam, and Baela who find Rhaenyra as well? And Sheep Stealer as well.
if that happens, it would have to happen much later in the season, like towards the end of the season, because we still need
Okay.
to lead with Tumbleton right away, because it does seem like it's like a very last minute thing of like, oh shit, we need to deal with this now. And I do believe we see in the preview Hugh on Vermithor, like flying somewhere. It looks like he arrives in a city. It might be just Tumbleton.
Okay. I
Um,
am curious about that. I'm like, Damon already left, and then she gets news of this. I'm like, can she say, "Hey, Damon, come back here"? Hey, Damon would be pissed about this because he's the one who went down there in the first place. Like, is Damon gonna be the one who confronts Ormond, or is he gonna be off in a different storyline while this happens?
yeah, I
Um,
don't know. We'll see. Part of what would make the whole Battle of Tumbleton interesting in the show is that if we don't have Daemon present, you would be basically be sending the dragon seeds to deal with it, and like, can you trust them? Especially like somebody like Olf to like actually do a proper job.
is Damon
Probably
there?
not.
Is Damon there in the books? We're in both Tumbleton
Oh,
conflicts.
I don't remember. I will have to remind myself later on. Let's
But
see.
we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, because I immediately I was like, oh, Damon would be furious about this. Like, because again, he was there, and to make a fool of him when he personally goes there to have them bend the knee, they bend the knee to Damon. So Damon would be furious about this. But Rhaenyra is also appropriately furious. So next week we'll see what happens with Ormond. What his plan was. He has a 2-day advantage. Tumbleton is held by her enemies and by hostages. You know, the people there supported Rhaenyra. So how will she react? Is she going to burn them all, like Daenerys burned an entire King's Landing, or will she do some kind of maneuver where she can kill the High Towers while still saving the people of Tumbleton? I'm very curious. Like, it's a very tricky spot that Ormond has put her in.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have long for this world. You don't make fun of Rhaenyra and Daemon and live to tell the tale. So we'll see what happens with him. Also, next week we see a preview of Kristen Cole and Gwaine coming to what's it called?
Harrenhal.
Harrenhal. Thank you. They're like, where's our boy Aemon? And she's like, hey guys.
It's like, oh boy,
That's gonna be great.
Line.
Oh boy, that's gonna be great. That's gonna be great.
I don't know why I never thought about Kristen Cole actually being inside of Harrenhal and like, give me some visions. Give me some visions.
Everybody, you got a vision. You got a vision. I can't wait. But that is for next time. So you guys can follow me on Twitter at Harris EV9. Nathan and I on a different channel. We're gonna be watching Evil Dead Rise this week in prep for Evil Dead Burn. I've already saw it. We're just doing a commentary. But I'm excited for Evil Dead Burn. I've heard some good things. Hopefully this is better than Evil Dead Rise. I didn't hate Evil Dead Rise, but I think this could be better than Evil Dead Rise. I showed Jalen Evil Dead 2013 last night, and I'm like, oh yeah. That third act is so fucking cool. Fede Alvarez, holy shit. I mean, like, one arm, chainsaw, blood rain. Come on. Can Evil Dead Burn deliver something more cooler than that? We shall see.
It does seem like it's borrowing more for 2013 than any other movie.
Yeah, so I'm very hyped. And then also this weekend is the Invite, so a lot of good things happening. But yeah, Edgar, what's up with you?
Yeah, you can find me at EDGRTEG and on social media. You can find some of my written work on Let and Clear reviews and the Cinema Spot. As Evan mentioned, the Invite. My review for the Invite has been up for a couple of weeks now. So yeah, you can check it out. You can check it out there. Great movie, 5 out of 5. So yeah. But man, one of the things that I love about this episode also was the score, and like it kind of reminded me of the Invite, of how it's like constantly just giving you like more anxiety with the music. So that was
score in that movie.
Huh?
Who does the score in the Invite?
Dev Hines. He's like a musician. Most people know him as Blood Orange. He's like a pop artist.
Interesting.
Like soul. Yeah, but yeah, you can find me there. You can find this podcast at WHFG Podcast. You can rate us, follow us for the audio version only of this on your preferred app of choice, and we will be back, I guess, later today for our what we watched in the month of June, covering what haven't we covered? Masters of the Universe, I guess.
Supergirl, your rant's coming.
Yeah, my rant is coming.
Supergirl, Masters of the Universe.
Toy Story 5.
Toy Story 5. Yeah.
Some TV. I started watching the new Tatiana Maslany show on Apple TV.
Tell me about that. I haven't started watching it yet either. So
yeah, we'll talk about it later. And Widow's Bay, hell yeah, it ended. We'll talk about that a little bit too. And yeah, we'll see you later, and we'll see you next week for another episode of this, covering episode 4 of House of the Dragon. Bye bye.